if you are going through life, you will encounter problem. It's just a matter of big or small problem. But problem is problem. You can train yourself to be strong enough to handle those problems. So whatever you want, you can make it. Don't let the problem and obstacles stop you from doing it.
Some experts chase attention, but the smart ones build authority. You're listening to the Authority on Demand podcast, where credibility becomes your competitive advantage. Every week, we're pulling back the curtain on how founders and leaders turn expertise into inbound demand through books that position, media that converse, and strategies that actually move the needle. I'm Danielle Hutchinson, your host and Chief Creative Officer at Authority on Demand. Now, let's turn your authority into leverage. Okay, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Authors on Mission podcast. We're starting off today with a little imagination. So picture this. You're 21 years old, studying engineering in college, dreaming of building a better future. Then, one April morning, your entire world ends. This is the story of Sara Im, who wrote about it in her award-winning memoir, How I Survived the Killing Fields, a story of hope, love, and determination. Sara's story is about survival, but also about this extraordinary power of love, faith, and an unbreakable human spirit. From the rice camps of Cambodia to the classrooms of Connecticut, from losing everything to rebuilding an entire family's future in America, this is a conversation about what it truly means to turn pain into purpose. Sara, welcome to Authors on Mission. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you for having me, Danielle.
Hey, real quick before we jump back in, if you're loving what we're doing here, hit that subscribe button and drop us a like. We're bringing you the best authors, the most real conversations, and all the writing wisdom that you didn't know you needed. So stick around because it only gets better from here. All right, now let's get back to the conversation. Of course, I'm really very much looking forward to diving into this today. I think it's important that we start off by getting to know you a little bit more, and you definitely have a huge story to tell, but perhaps you could provide the listeners with a quick overview of what our book here is all about. I know it's a lot to cover, but perhaps a quick little synopsis for us.
Sure, yes. My book is a summary of my life journey, starting in Cambodia. Well, I start out the book when I was young, and also I describe my life through the horrible experience in the communist Khmer rule, and all the way until I escape out of Cambodia and start my new life in America. So it's pretty much my life journey until now.
Of course, yeah, and you do a beautiful job of describing it. Some of them are some of the scenes that you include are very, very detailed despite the trauma. So I'm wondering, how did you go about writing this? How did you access these painful memories and transform it into word? Did you have a certain process?
Well, I have a very good friend, a close friend, that I told her that I'm going to write a book. So she offering me to read
Mhm.
along with me. So I wrote, like a few pages and I sent it to her. And then she reviewed and then she start probing and she asked me questions. So that's what helped me to get a little bit deeper into, what happened when this happened. So it's my friend that asked me question and give me opportunity to go a little bit deeper and dig into it.
Understood. So that's wonderful that you had a friend by your side throughout the process to bounce ideas off of and for her to ask you the questions. That's a great way to trigger the memory also. I think
Mhm.
that's something that any authors listening today could definitely learn from because, what better way to do it than with some teamwork? So a little bit more about the book itself. I looked through it on my own, and chapter 7 you describe as your defining moment when you begin praying to God. I'm wondering if you could walk us through that spiritual transformation for us. I think it's something very valuable for our listeners to learn.
Yes, in that chapter, I've described when I was very sick, I was sent to the infirmary.
Mm,
So the infirmary is supposed to be a hospital, but there was no doctor, no medication. So
right.
I name it infirmary. It's something like a hospice, a
Or-
place where very sick people go there and wait. And most of the time, they don't get better. They get sicker and then die.
okay.
But my goal is now to not to die. I want to survive. So I will start thinking about all the possibility. What could I do to survive in this uh, very challenging and very like there's no option. No option. If I run away, I have no energy to run away, and I don't know where to go and all that. So after considering all options, I I decided that I need to pray because I believe I believe that there is a God. There is a God, and that's from my childhood. Since I listened to my mom, she read the story, the old story, the book, the history, and all that. So that's when I decided I'm going to pray and ask God to help me because my limited capability is very limited. Now it's even more limited because of my illness. So that's when I start to pray.
Of course, and that's an amazing story to tell because it just goes to show how much faith could really strengthen us and bring us to somewhere important in our lives. So it's
Yeah.
incredible. But then, of course, the story goes on and you talk about your life. I'm wondering then, you ended up going over to America. You had no English, no money. I'm wondering, how did you find the strength? Did that also come with the faith and the prayer?
Well, when I came to America, although I did not speak English, I have a group of people that was ready to help me, like the woman group from the local church. They they band together. They come and help. They get an apartment ready for me, and they get all the everything in the apartment that I could possibly need secondhand stuff, of course, but I have everything that I need. So with with the support from the community like that, it just encouraged me more. And because I I plan to be more self-sufficient. So that motivated me to start to learn English and going to take my GED class so I can go to college. So all that motivation is come from my goal to be independent.
Understood. Yeah, well, that's first off wonderful that you have a support system that you're able to find that. So, anybody listening today, don't give up hope. There's people out there who can help you and
Mhm.
and support you, just like for Sarah's life. And yeah, I'm just glad to know that that was the launch pad for here you are now, and you not only have built up a beautiful life, but written about it too, so others can learn from it. I'm wondering if you would like to transition a little bit into the writing process then. Was there a certain moment you decided to write this book after decades of keeping all these memories together? I know you mentioned you talked to your friend a little bit, but was a certain moment that inspired you to get started writing?
Yeah, well, there's a trigger. There's something that lead me to the writing part.
Mm.
Well, I was in the health and wellness business, and at one point, one of my friends asked me to speak to to share a short message about healthy brain, healthy memory, and so on. So I did my research and I came up with a short topic to talk about. And she liked my reasoning, and she liked my style, and she said, you can publish that article that you wrote. And she really encouraged me to. I said, oh no. I don't have a credential. I don't want to just blah, 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 and people would not listen. And then I went away. And then when I thought about it, maybe I can write about something. So I thought, I probably can write about my story. So I just keep that in my mind. But in between, while I was thinking, I got invited by a woman who is, she lead a networking group, the woman group. And once in a while, they have a guest speaker. So when she heard about my story a little bit, she said, Sarah, can you tell us about your story? So, so she invited me to speak at the luncheon. And I
Wow.
spoke, I share my story off the cuff because it's my story. I remember everything. And then one lady in the group cried.
Wow.
And I found out that she lost her teenagers to suicide. So when I found out that, and I realized, wow, people in this beautiful country, they have everything that they could possibly have, and still did not like their life. Maybe I should share my life story. Maybe it will help them to realize that life is hard. So that's what encouraged me to share my story. So I can probably help stop the act of suicidal.
That is absolutely beautiful. First off, I'm very glad to know that you were able to get up and speak. I'm sure that was you were a little bit nervous to do that and to share your story
Mhm.
in the beginning. But yeah, you do have a very good point. It's unfortunate that suicide does exist and that unfortunately a thing that happens. But by writing your story, you show, you know what, I went through this and it's much worse than what you could possibly imagine. And I think that puts a good perspective in people's minds. It's very noble. So thank you for sharing that. I'm wondering, as you dove into the writing process then, what was your daily routine like for you? This is an author's podcast. We always like to learn more writing tips. I'm wondering, did you start with an outline? Did you just kind of let it flow from memory after having the conversations with your friend? What was the process like for you?
Yeah, once I make a decision to write, one morning I got in my car. I was about to drive to somewhere, and then I thought about the book. Oh, what should I start with? So, in one sitting, I get all the outline.
Wow.
I get all the outline, chapter, and all that. Of course, I will tweak later, but that's the first step when I launch my writing.
Understood. Yeah, well, that's great that you kind of had a burst of creativity and was able to get the outline done in just one sitting. That's a very good productivity is what I'm trying to say. It's very, very awesome. So that being said, then I'm wondering, was there one chapter that was more difficult to write than others? I'm sure it's anytime you're recounting your own memories, it's a challenging thing to do, of course. So, which was there any chapter over others that was hard to write?
Well, it's hard for me to say which chapter is harder. All of them are hard.
Right, of course, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah. But if I had to choose one, I would say living through the work camp.
Mm.
Describe the daily routine and the hunger, the starvation sensation, and the exhaustion, and the illness, and it, it's the most miserable time of my life, and I have to go back and recount all those things. So that was very hard.
Of course. And to anybody listening today, to find out more information about that particular chapter, all you have to do is pick up a copy and flip through, and you'll know exactly what she's referring to here. But I think most important for us to remember is that even though a story is difficult to share, it's important to do so so that others can learn from it just the way that you have. That being said, I'm wondering for the authors out there who might have challenging stories just like yours, what sort of advice would you offer them if they're also trying to write their story but having some trouble putting it onto paper? What was something that helped you?
Well, it's like English is not my first language. That's another challenge. But I think if you write it from your heart, you have a purpose, you have a goal in mind. Why you do this? It will, the idea will come through, will flow through, and you don't need to rush. You don't need to rush. Just take all the time.
Right. Yeah. So take your time and let it come from the heart. I definitely understand that. And that's how the best works of writing come about anyway. So
Mhm.
beautiful stuff. So I'm wondering then, how has becoming an author changed your life and mission? Have you seen any impact now that the book is out and released?
I I think so. I think as soon as I publish my book, I become well known in my community. Everybody know me, and um, I was suggest that I do the pre-order before the book was print. I got a lot of pre-order, and my friend that asked me to speak at her group, she hosts me another luncheon to ask me to tell about my books coming up. So at the top, I pass around the pre-order list, and I got a lot of pre-order. So
That's incredible.
yeah, so it was very encouraging. And so from there on, people start to pay attention to me that, oh wow, I have a story that can help other people. And people start to look at me a little bit different. That I'm now just a selfish person. I do this to share my hardest, my worst life experience with them because I love them. I want to help them. So from that standpoint, yes, writing my book changed my career, changed my the perspective of my friends and my connection in the community.
Definitely. And that's first off something I think that everybody can learn from too. Make sure that you have pre-orders available for everybody and that you're building up the anticipation in advance, just like you have. People are excited to read your book. And it's great to know that their perspective of you has strengthened, that they know your story and everything behind it. So very beautiful stuff. So now that you do have this book out, I'm curious to know, have you considered writing any other books?
Yes, I have written other book, but in collaboration with uh, other authors. Uh, like one book I wrote alongside with 39 other women. It's a collaboration book. Some people called it anthology, right?
Right.
And yeah, and then another book talk about uh, a holistic approach. It's all about wellness, about take care of yourself, and so that was a very good book that I enjoyed writing. And then my latest new book that it was just published. It's called The Gratitude Effect: A Path to the Life You Love. It's a beautiful book. There are 20 others that each wrote one chapter, and he made a little blip in the in the middle of the book. so so yes, I wrote more book, and I intend to write some more. Maybe that kind of collaboration with the good topic, I will participate.
Understood. Well, I'm curious to know then, how was the experience writing in a collaboration? Did you find it very different from writing your own book versus like writing in combination with others?
Well, writing in collaboration is a little bit different, but my chapter is like an essay. most of them it come from my speaking engagement. So when I go speak and I have a topic to speak, so everything from that speak can become one chapter in the collaboration book.
Understood. So that's wonderful that, you're using what you do for your speeches for that book too. I'm wondering if you'd like to touch upon that a little bit. How is the public speaking life working? Are you still touring and going around and telling your story?
Yeah, my public speaking launched just before COVID, right?
Understood.
Not a good timing.
I understand. Yeah. Well, hey, so you got a little bit out there, and then have you thought about perhaps picking it back up now that things have cleared up a bit?
Yes, yes, um well lately this year I have a few speaking engagement lined up. I already spoke a couple this year, but will be a few more lined up um locally, and I enjoy that very much. But it's not a big money making for me because, but I consider this a learning process. Any career will take a lot of practice, a lot of, learning and so on. So I consider this is my learning period. It's like going to college. So you don't make money while you're going to college. So
Understood.
mhm.
Right, but it's still enjoyable and important to spread the message too.
Yeah,
So
yeah, very enjoyable, especially when we see the difference that the story made for people. So,
absolutely.
yeah, at one time, many years ago, before the COVID, I spoke at the Rotary Club. The Rotary Club, they don't have a fund, a budget to pay for the speaker, but it's good for a speaker that just start like me, right? So I went to speak, and then one of my business friend, she came to listen to my talk, and she invited her her employee to come and listen. And then a few months later, I went to her place, her working place, and I met her employee, and this employee come to me and told me, just very friendly with me, and I was shocked. Where did this lady know me and so on? So I come to find out that she was in my audience,
Hmm.
and she got to read my book. And then the time that I meet her again, she confronted me and she said, "Sarah, thank you. Thank you for who you are. You changed my life." And when I heard that, I said, "How? What did I do?" She said, "You don't know that. But I was listening to you. I was in your audience. I read your book. And I used to be suicidal all my life, but not anymore since you touched my life." So it's just a beautiful thing to know that you can change people's life. You don't have to make a boatload of money. So, you know, um, I'm very satisfied just hearing that your hard work can pay off in a most different way. I am so grateful for that.
No, that's a beautiful story. And I think it just goes to show the importance of talking about our experiences because there you go. You helped somebody's life, you've changed it. And I think that's an inspiration for all of the authors listening today. It's
Mhm.
important for us to get out there and share what we've been through. Just like we talked about earlier on, it was your goal for the book to spread the word about the fact that people's lives, people have it worse off. So we need to be grateful for what we have. It's wonderful that you've got such great reception from it.
Ah, yeah.
So, all of that being said, I'm wondering if people are inspired by you and they would like to get in touch, perhaps check out the book. get connected, what is the best way for them to get in contact? Do you have a website that everybody could check out?
Yeah, I have a website. It's called saraim.com. Just SARAIM.com. And if you want a book, you can go to the book tab. If you want to invite me to speak, you can go to speaking tab. And you can also check on my upcoming events. You can always follow me to the events. So it's a a small website. It's easy to navigate, and I'm accessible. Call me, text me, or email me.
Okay, perfect. We're going to put the links to your website in the description box of this podcast so everybody can go ahead and click on over and stay in the know. And I highly recommend doing so. And of course, everybody, if you haven't already, be sure to check out a copy of How I Survived the Killing Fields and just get to know a little bit more about the story. So, Sarah, as we begin to wrap up today, I'm wondering, do you happen to have any pieces of advice, any last bits of knowledge that our audience can take with them today and carry on? Or what should they know after hearing your story and your tale?
What should they know? Well,
The best message.
yeah. They if you are going through life, you will encounter problems. It's just a matter of big or small problem. But problem is problem. We have to be prepared that there will be problem in our life, but you can train yourself to be strong enough to handle those problems. So learn to be resilient. It's a skill. You can learn to become more resilient. You can learn to be more faithful. You can learn to be more loving and more goal oriented. So whatever you want, you can make it. Don't let the problem and obstacles stop you from doing it. So,
Understood. No, that's beautiful and very well said too. Thank you so much. And I
mm,
think everybody should be very inspired after hearing all of this today. It's been a very insightful, inspiring conversation. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing your tale. And I truly am honored to have met you and to learn a little bit more about your book. So thank you so much.
you're welcome. It's my pleasure to be here with you and share my story.
Of course. And to all of our listeners who are facing their own impossible circumstances, whether it's loss, trauma, illness, or just everyday struggles, Sarah's story proves that the human spirit, when anchored in hope, empowered by love and faith, is unstoppable. So, again, check out How I Survived the Killing Fields. It's available on the links in the description box of this podcast. To our Authors on Mission family, remember every author has a story, but some stories have the power to change how we see our own. And Sarah's is definitely one of those. So keep writing, keep surviving, and keep thinking. We'll see you next time on the Authors on Mission podcast. That's a wrap on another episode of the Authority on Demand podcast. If today's conversation sparked something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Share this episode with a founder or a leader who's ready to stop being the best kept secret in their industry. If you want to turn your expertise into inbound demand, head to authorityondemand.com to see how we help clients go from unknown to in demand. I'm Danielle Hutchinson, and I'll catch you on the next one. Now, go build some authority.